Just as the arcades profiled in Walter Benjamin's work Paris, Capital of the 19th Century, seemed to buzz with the vitality of a new age all their own. The rusted-out industrial tools making up the landscape of Wedge Studios in Asheville, North Carolina, still seem to whisper a time-encapsulating tune of iron and steel, of soil and dust, of early mornings spent with dew on the grass. Now though, these tools of industry serve a different array of functions, displaying an affinity for nostalgia, for memory, and for human yearning altogether unfamiliar to them in their past lives. Wedge Studios is a refurbished factory building, a space seemingly making no claim to contemporary life and confessing no interest in beginning anew. Rather, the building is one of transitional space, a fulcrum point between past and present, a choric zone in which time seems to unravel, to twist, and to knot. It is a space that, as Benjamin noticed of the sewers of Paris, allows for the camera lens to make discoveries and to uncover spatial memories that resonate in ever new ways when viewed by the contemporary moment. Wedge Studios is a passage between ages. It is a chronotope, as Paul Ricoeur asserts in Architecture and Narrativity, to indicate a series of gestures and rituals that happen and manifest architecturally as the connecting assemblage across topos, or place and site, to the chronos, or to time. Chronos, perpetual, momentary, fleeting, lasting, stretching, slipping, grasping. It is the invariable, the eternal, the everlasting. Soldering chronotopes, connecting, then, now, and the fleeting moments in between. Part 2, Camera Obscura. What is the work of a camera? What is art, and how do light and the lens connect? Wedge Studios, in the heart of Asheville's historic River Arts District, houses studio spaces for over 30 working artists who span spectrums of geography, of identity, and of expressive medium. These artists work in the heart of Appalachia, often in studios with open doors, with open windows, with open dialogue occurring within them. Wedge Studios also serves as the dwelling place for a brewery, its primary attraction aside from the studios. It also houses a wine bar, a food truck space, and a restaurant specializing in the cuisine of the American South. As artists, patrons, and diners move in and around the space, one realizes Wedge to be a gathering place of sorts, a congregation, a coming together of tourists, of locals, and of all those in between. Importantly, though, the space is heavily defined by the industrial artifacts imbricated within the fabric of the built space. These welded together industrial tools, including rusted engines, axles, wheels, gates, nails, screws, benches, panels, and sheets of aluminum, all work intertextually in important and provocative ways. The camera lens explores the built, constructed space of Wedge Studios, probing the concept of chronotope that Paul Ricoeur uses in Architecture and Narrativity to indicate the series of gestures and rituals that happen and manifest architecturally as the topos and as the chronos. Here we begin refiguration, the rereading of our towns and of all of our dwelling places. As Ricoeur asserts, constructed space is condensed time. For Ricoeur, the glory of architecture is to make present not what is no longer, but what was by means of what is no longer. In other words, architectural space presences what was by means of what is no longer, moving past and present into a tangle of knots. Here at Wedge Studios, we collage. We collage chronos and topos, narrative and experience, memory and forgetting. Here we imbricate. Here we tangle. Here we interfuse. It is here that we weld and solder entire sites of memory in each of the individual industrial tools which makes up the fabric of Wedge Studios, exploring them as nodes of space in a collage of refiguration. This brings us to part 3, refiguration. Any act of reading is always an act of rereading. We interpret built space, and we reinterpret that space time and time again, revising our memories, our attentions, and our wills to entertain new interpretations and new understandings. A place comes to us as a Cartesian space, as a geometric space, as a culturally constructed space, as organized matter, but it leaves its encounter with us as a site of living, as an event. 30 artists call Wedge Studios home. This makes Wedge Studios an event of artistic creation, of rhetorical invention, of refiguration through reinterpretation. The artist acts rhetorically and materially, and the place, architecture, surroundings, and environment of Wedge Studios work as co-participants in every artistic invention. Artists invent, they compose creations which the rhetorical theorist, Thomas Rickert, argues are always co-creations in which other entities, including material environments, locations, languages, and even architectures, are also participants within that creative act. Rickert is a proponent of an ambient rhetoric that situates composition, invention, and creation not solely in a locus of human intentions and actions, but rather as a conglomeration of interacting elements, an ensemble of enmeshed factors coming together within an environment. For Rickert, invention and rhetoric are not solely the province of humans, but rather of environments, materials, places, and surroundings as well. Rickert draws on actor network theory and on object-oriented ontology to extend rhetoric to the non-human, and especially to built spaces and environments as sites in which ensembles of interacting elements come together. Paul Ricoeur considers refiguration to be the rereading of our dwelling places, and that is what artists at Wedge Studios enact in every artistic composition in which they create. Importantly though, if we take ambient rhetoric to be an accurate conception of how creation, invention, and even refiguration happen, we must be sure to acknowledge the role that Wedge Studios, as an environment, plays in the co-production of the artistic works that are created there. These works of art that are co-created, co-invented, and co-composed between humans and their environments are always acts of refiguration. In refiguring Wedge Studios, a small lot beside a river in Asheville, North Carolina, we refigure a space as a co-created invention, and in small yet meaningful ways, we refigure art, and we refigure architecture, and we even refigure rhetoric.